righty, welcome to episode 20. My earbuds suck. There we go. Episode 26, Bet Parks presents Stick to Hockey Live. Anthony DiMarco from thefourthperiod.com going to join us in a moment. Let me tell you about Bet Parks. Great time to get on the action. You still got some World Cup, I think, going on. You know, U.S. is out, but you've got football, you've got college and pro, you got basketball, college and pro, you got all the different sports to bet on, and you can do it with the Bet Parks app. It is simple to use, easy to use, faster to win than ever before. All you got to do is download the app if you don't have it. If you do have it, again, get it, check it out. Same game parlays, live in-game betting, player performances like props, futures, teasers, parlays, straight bets. It's all there for you, and you can combine things. It's a lot of fun. Check it out because you're going to love using it. And right now, all Bet Parks users can get that promo code JASON750 and get a risk-free bet up to $750. And that's for new and existing users. Again, JASON750. Terms and conditions do apply. So download the Bet Parks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, Conquerville Subaru's got the Share the Love event going on right now. This is awesome. Subaru was the first Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015. And the Share the Love event is going on. It began back on November 17th. It goes through January 3rd. And this is where Subaru is going to donate $250 for every new car sold to one of 5 charities, which you get to pick. All right, here's the charities you get to pick from. ASPCA, Make-A-Wish, Meals on Wheels, Nations Parks, or Conquerville's hometown charity, the Namor's Children's Hospital of Delaware. All great charities. December, great time to check out the beautiful showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out the certified pre-owned inventory, list of incoming Subaru vehicles. It's all there for you at Conquerville Subaru. Much more than a dealership, great service department, free car wash with every visit. So do yourself a favor. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com. Check out all the great things they have to offer, vehicles they have to offer, and much more. And check out the showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember, Conquerville cares. Let's get to them now. From north of the border, up in Montreal, in Quebec, it is the man from thefourthperiod.com, Anthony DiMarco. What is going on, Ant?
Not too much, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. Just dealing with this friggin' sickness coming back again and again and again. Son's home from school. I had to go pick up my boy from school. He's got a doctor's appointment today. It's like this thing is relentless. It just keeps pounding everybody in the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's what having kids is, eh? It's fucking crazy.
Oh, just brutal. It's like a petri dish of infection around here. You don't want them in. So Saturday's game against the Devils. I was talking to Bill about this yesterday, Bill Meltzer, for today's Flyers Daily. That may have been the best, most structured game they've played all year. Against a good team who's playing really well. They outshoot them 33-18. I mean, the Devils give up like 25 shots a game. They generate about 36 shots a game. The Flyers hold them to half of that. But yet they still come away with a loss because they just can't score. And over the last 13 games, they've got 26 goals. Easy math tells me that's averaging 2 a game. You're not going to win only scoring 2 goals a game in this league.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like the issue, right, with this team, that they just can't score. And, I mean, I think you've even seen their defense a lot trying to overcompensate for that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know about you, but, like, when we've seen Provorov struggle, or more specifically, Tony DeAngelo struggle over the last, like, few weeks or so, I think it's mainly been because they're trying to overcompensate and jump into the rush and force plays up the ice because – look, like I play, beer league hockey, but even at the lowest level, if your forwards can transport the puck into the offensive zone or create chances, no matter how good your defensemen are, and they haven't played great recently, like the Flyers defense, but in terms of talent, I think that they are probably the strongest point of their team other than their goaltender. And when you don't trust your forwards to do their job, you're going to overcompensate. Yeah. And I think you've seen them do that with guys like Provorov and DeAngelo. I think Provorov's game has gotten a bit better, although he got kind of embarrassed a few times on Saturday night. But I think you've seen his analytics trend in the right direction since he hasn't been playing with DeAngelo. And I just think that overall, you've kind of seen the Flyers defense were trying to overcompensate for the lack of scoring from the forwards, which has gotten them into trouble more often than not.
Yeah, that's the thing. And DeAngelo plays in that game on the third pair with Sealer. And I don't know, he played the game prior with Sanheim, I guess, but top pair for most of the time, played a lot of minutes, too many minutes for him. Got banged up, probably wanted to ease him back in, but they wanted to put Braun back in the lineup, and they figured the best place to put him was with Sanheim. And then you got D'Angelo on that third pair with Sealer, and all those guys are trying to provide offense because it's just so hard to come by. But it's not ideal to have Tony D'Angelo playing on your third pair. I know he played over 4 minutes power play time, but still.
Yeah, and I think that was twofold because, one, they wanted to go back to the well with Ristolainen and Provorov. Obviously, they liked how they looked specifically against the New York Islanders last Tuesday, I believe it was. And then on the flip side of that, Torts have said in the media that they're trying to get Tony D'Angelo's minutes down. And he said it's kind of tough to track in a game because you're not there with a stopwatch. You're just kind of throwing him over the boards when you want him out there. But if you have him playing 5-on-5 on the, quote, third pair, it is a way to just kind of inherently get his minutes down a bit. But at the same time, you could make the case that Tony D'Angelo, aside from Travis Konechny, is their most dynamic offensive player. So you also want him out there the most possible. So I guess maybe by getting him out there with Sealer, he gets more offensive zone starts, and Provorov and Ristolainen could be worried more about the defensive side. I don't think that they were as good as they were against the Islanders in recent games, Provorov and Ristolainen, but I mean, Provorov obviously gets work by Jack Hughes. Obviously, he's one of the better players in the NHL this year, so he's not the only one. He has the turnover behind the net. But I mean, I think more or less Ristolainen has been okay in that role, so it's allowed Tortorella to kind of experiment with where he could play Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah. And, Ristolainen, let's talk about him real quick because he's been on that top pair ever since he jumped up there. I guess now 3 games it's been that he's been there. He's definitely played his best hockey of the year. Doesn't seem like he's over pursuing plays to the same extent he was early in the season. And playing a lot more within himself, and not chasing guys. He did chase a guy out the other night against the Devils all the way to the blue line, but for the most part, not chasing guys all the way out to the blue line or getting strung out outside the dots in the D zone. He's been better. It's still not ideal to have him on your top pair, though, either. But this is maybe now the conundrum that they're finding themselves in.
Well, yeah, you got to deal with that cards you're dealt. And you look at Ristolainen the last 14 games since he got benched against the Ottawa Senators in early November. He has a 50.66 expected goals for percentage, a positive shot differential, a positive Fenwick differential, his positive expected goal differential. So, I mean, his game has been trending in the right direction. And obviously, for a lot of that stretch, he was playing on the third pair with Nick Sealer. So you can take it all as like a top pair role. But I think what Shaw and Tortorella have really tried to do is just really simplify his game and be better positioning. And I think Torts referred to that, or alluded to that rather, in one of his media availabilities last week, when he was talking about Ristolainen, that his game has been trending in the better direction. Because like you just said, like, Risto's game, I think that gets him into trouble a lot of the time is his erratic play and him not being able to just play his position. But if you can kind of just dumb down his game a bit and have him play a simple brand of hockey, he's just going to have an easier time because he is a bigger guy. He does have decent skill, and he's not a slow skater either. And I think with Risto, it has always been between the ears. And I think, again, very small sample size compared to his last 7 years or whatever it is in the NHL. But I think the last month or so has arguably been one of his best stretches of hockey under Sean Tortorella.
So let's stay on that real quick, because what do? Do you keep him there on the top pair, or do you move him back down with Sanheim and move D'Angelo back up there under the presumption that D'Angelo is 100% from a physical standpoint? But then when D'Angelo gets back to that top pair, you got to be careful not to overuse them like they were before.
Yeah, that's kind of like the predicament they find themselves in. Like, look, I think that Tony D'Angelo and Provorov worked okay together, but D'Angelo can't eat the amount of 5-on-5 minutes that Provorov is eating. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest issue, where Provorov was eating, like 18 minutes a night of 5-on-5, and I don't think that you could play Tony that much, especially when he's relied on so heavily on the power play. So I think that at this point, based on how their defense is kind of structured, they're kind of playing with one top pair defenseman and then a bunch of like 3s and 4s in a lot of way. So I think that you would probably have to kind of like mix and match here. I would keep Risto there for the time being. Look, at this point, we know that wins aren't paramount. We know that a lot of this is figured out what you have. So figure out what you really have in Risto here. Like, I know a lot of people have already written this guy off and they hate him and he's the problem with everything wrong under the sun. But I would keep him there because I think that you've seen that the best of Provorov and Risto is better than the best of Provorov and D'Angelo. Mm-hmm. Because in my opinion, Provorov and D'Angelo have a high offensive ceiling, but I don't think that I would want those two matching up against other teams as top pairs or top lines. I think that you saw the way that Provorov and Risto played, specifically physically wise, and even just their hockey play was really good against a heavy Islanders team. So I think that in an ideal world, Risto's that guy. Do I think that he could get there? I'm hesitant based on the track record, but at this point, you have nothing else to lose.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing is, using him in that spot, I'm just afraid that you keep him there too long and eventually you pay the price for doing so. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I worry about when it comes to Risto in that spot. I don't want to keep him there too long and have him overstay his welcome.
And I think that you're kind of in a predicament right now where you kind of are trending in that direction because you look at his analytics the last 3 games in the top pair role, and they're certainly not nearly as good as they were in that second/third pair role. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you also have to take that with a grain of salt with like against the Tampa game, no one was good. So that really heavily skewed the analytics in the wrong direction. So, I mean, I don't think Ristolainen's a fixture on that top pair long-term, just because I think history tells us otherwise. He did not succeed in that role whatsoever in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I still think that in an ideal world, his long-term place is behind Sanheim on the second pair. I think they played together well last year. We know that Sanheim's kind of viewed as their shutdown 5-on-5 defenseman. But I understand why they're trying to find that with Provorov. I think that you might as well go back to the well with D'Angelo, and then maybe you try mix and match 5-on-5. Like, you don't have to play one or the other with Provorov all the time. Like, we saw that with, and look, I'm not comparing Provorov to Hedman, but a lot of times down in Tampa over the last few years, him on paper, Hedman that is, would be paired with Zach Bogosian or Jan Ruda. But at times in that game, he would play with Mikhail Sergachev, or then they would swap Ruda and Cal Foote or whatever. So I think that based on how this defense is structured, that's how I would explore it with Provorov right now.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and look, you're relying on your D to get you some goal support. Look, we said this, coming into the season, that even, with no Couturier, and even if you had Couturier, frankly, they were a team that was really going to struggle to score. You take all these guys out, and hopefully, I don't know if Atkinson's playing tonight or not. I think we're waiting on that decision. I know he's been cleared for a few days now, and he's being cautious, which I guess is the right. It's funny because people say, don't rush guys back from injury because they just keep getting injured. But now that he's been cleared, they're like, why is he not playing? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like the guy does need to feel comfortable. He doesn't want to rush back because he doesn't want to come back and then go right back out. You want to come back and it be sustainable. But, I mean, they could use Atkinson. They could use JVR. I think JVR maybe it could be at the end of this week. I think that's when you're at 6 weeks post-surgery. I know he had the appointment last Friday or Thursday, I guess it was, with the surgeon. I think he got good news. We haven't heard officially if he got good news. But so you could get those guys. I mean, that's 50 per 82 right there, goals. And they need every element of every one of those goals they can get right now.
Yeah, I mean, and Atkinson's also a guy that's played for Torts, was presumably one of the leaders on this team, and he's probably probably their best shooter aside from Owen Tippett at this point. Like, I think that he was a guy last year that scored a lot from low percentage areas for sure. And I mean, he's going to help with the speed. He's going to help on the penalty kill. I think special teams is a place that Atkinson is really going to help, maybe in that bumper position for a one-time shot. We know AV liked them there early last year. They reconfigured the entire power play to try and get him on the first unit last year, even when it was working. So, I mean, it's really going to help because it's going to kind of push people down the lineup a bit, because I think you're seeing a lot of guys playing right now that, like, whether it be Max Willman or Tanner Lazinski or Patrick Brown, that really probably shouldn't be everyday NHLers, let alone top 9, top 6 guys. I think Lazinski's coming in for Willman nowadays, or tonight. Yeah. So, I mean, once you start to get these guys back here, I know Charlie O'Connor tweeted earlier today that he's expecting JVR back sometime this week. So, I mean, I think that we're going to start to see more of like a healthy squad by the holidays. Now I'm just curious to see who's actually going to come out, because I do think this team's going to get better just inherently with the guys they're getting back. You know, TK's back, Lawton's back. You're going to get JVR and Atkinson back this week sometime. Then Allison's on the horizon. I'm just more curious to see who they take out of the lineup when those 3 guys come back.
You know, the funny thing is the other night against the Devils, it was maybe the first time this season that the fourth line looked like the fourth line. It was Patrick Brown in the middle of Zach McEwen and Nick Delarier. None of those guys were playing in the top 9. And I was like, wow, that looks like a fourth line. And I thought they were effective in the game. I thought everybody was really effective in that game, to be honest with you. I thought the puck support and the structure was excellent in the game. And then, just the 2 third-period goals that they give up. The one behind the net with the miscommunication between Hart and Sealer, not knowing who's going to – Sealer's got to talk to him there. Like, he's got to be verbal with him there to just rim that. Once you get that indecisive part for a goalie, the best thing to do is to get back in the net, but it's the most impossible thing to do because you want to push the puck.
Yeah, and I think Sealer's kind of struggled a bit the last 3 games after having a really good start to the year. Yeah, but like I think that they struggled a bit with the pace that the Devils played with, right? And that was kind of an example of it, where they were really trying to get the puck out quickly and a miscommunication, and it winds up in the back of your net. But I mean, for you, because I've kind of argued a lot with, well, not argued, debated a lot with people that I believe in the talent of the Flyers blue line, that if you transport that blue line onto a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Boston Bruins, it could be a passable, workable defense for a team with high aspirations. Where do you fall on that argument?
I still think you need, you don't, like, the Bruins have McAvoy, right? They have an absolute...
Lindholm.
Yeah, and Lindholm's been ridiculous, right? The points he's put up is insane. Part of that with McAvoy out of the lineup to start the year. Yeah. But, McAvoy is a legit Norris
stud.
Yeah. And then, Toronto, they're a mess right now, especially with Muzzin out and the whole thing. But, I still, passable, not ideal. I think it still needs to be improved. And, maybe part of that improvement is when Zamula knocks a little bit of some of the bad decisions or, slow play development out of them, or Cam York, who's playing really well with the Phantoms, comes up, and we'll see what he is. But those are question marks, so I don't know those to be, huge positives going forward. They have to prove it first, and proving it in the AHL is one thing. Proving it in the NHL is a totally different ballgame. So, from that standpoint, but It's just tough right now when you just can't score, and I think it just puts such a different kind of pressure on everybody in the lineup to try to not make a mistake. Like the Hughes goal, the third goal that they scored to go up 3-1, like he kind of spun Provorov into the ice a little bit, and then he gets to the net, and Hart just gets caught flat along the goal line. And his post integration's been really bizarre this year, I think.
Yeah.
Just like, he can't be flat along the goal line there. You have to be 45-degree turned, because that lean is so much more effective if you're turned, and you cut angle when you're turned to a 45-degree angle on a play coming straight off the wall down the goal line. But when he's flat, it's impossible to cover the top corner. So it's usually something that is never an issue with Hart, but he's had some weird ones go in on post-integration plays this year. But beside that, let's talk about Kevin Hayes, because I never even thought about moving him to the wing. And when you look at it now in hindsight, you go, a team that is devoid of scoring ability and a team that needs to generate offense, with TK out of the lineup, he was your best offensive player. TK's back now. But you can open him up on the wing, not bog him down with some of the consciousness of D-zone responsibility. Not to mention that even as a center, he works from the outside in. He doesn't work from the inside out. He's always been a guy that uses puck possession and, the ability around the wall in the offensive zone to generate his offense. So it makes more sense to have him wing. Am I happy I'm paying a winger the kind of money he's getting paid? No, because centers are more important. But going forward, they may be onto something with him, with Hayes as a winger. I think he could be more effective as a winger, especially as an offensive player. And you mitigate the thing that he's weakest at, which is defending.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't a new thing with centers who are getting up there in age who transfer onto the wing and they kind of reinvent their game. And look, obviously, it's not at all the same comparison, but look at what happened with Giroux, where it looked like the guy was falling apart in 2016-17. They moved him to the wing and he almost doubles his point total from the year prior. And I think that for a lot of guys who struggle defensively and aren't the most fleet of foot, once you start getting into that 30 age category, it is very advantageous for you to switch to the wing. And I think with Kevin Hayes, he is a guy that, like you said, it kind of fits that bill. And I said back in 2019 when they signed him, that and back then we had like all the aspirations that Patrick was still going to be here and Frost was going to be, a 70-point player in this league. But I always said that I think that his game is best suited to eventually translate to wing. And lo and behold, he's been playing there. And like you said, you take away the defensive responsibility, which isn't his forte or his strong suit in his game. And all of a sudden you have a guy who has 23 points through 23 games. Yeah. And look, obviously his game isn't perfect. And I think that all the best players on this team, quote unquote, do have the worst underlying numbers because they're out there so much. Like, Konechny, Hayes, Tippett, they all have the worst expected goals against per 60. Ditto on the backhand with like D'Angelo, Provorov, and Sanheim. But when you actually watch the game, it's clear that he is one of the standout forwards, one of the few.
He's a threat when he's on the ice.
Pardon me?
He's a threat when he's on the ice.
Exactly. And look, forget all the analytics for a second. He's producing tangible offense. And on a team that really can't produce anything, the guy's on pace for 82 points this season. Do I think he's going to finish there? No. But do I think he's going to get 65 to 70? I mean, at this point, why not?
Be a career year for him, no doubt, from a point standpoint. And the thing is, too, is he's such a looping player. You know what I mean? Like, he loops around the ice, and as a center, he's looping. His loops are too big. That makes sense. And as a winger, he has to loop tighter to play his side of the ice for the most part. So I think that keeps him in a smaller area of concentration as well. I think it's a good thing for him.
Well, the issue here is like, it's good that he's playing wing, but then what do you do at the center ice position, right?
Yeah, and they're trying to develop Cates there, and they're not putting any offensive pressure on him to produce offensively. But Cates has the conscience of a center, the responsibility, just the intuition of a center in the way that he defends. Eventually, you're going to want to get some offense from him too. But right now, I don't think Torts is putting any pressure on him to provide offense, especially when he's playing with Konechny and Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that now you have Cates kind of developing as a center, I think Denway eventually will be a bottom six center in this league. Assuming Sean Couturier comes back, he's probably going to be your 1/2C long term here because of the contract. So, and Kevin Hayes ideally isn't your top line center moving forward. So maybe moving him to wing, showcasing his offensive ability, if you do want to explore a trade eventually, is the best course of action here. I guess to this point, the one disappointment I've had is that you haven't really had an offensive centerman breakthrough. Obviously, Morgan Frost is that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, he's someone that I think he's played well process-wise, not a liability at all, can really kind of play wherever you need him to play, will always give you a half-decent shift, but like, he has, 4 points this season? And his last goal came off of Darcy Kemper pretty much giving him an early Christmas present.
Yeah.
It's just, he's a guy that I don't want to say disappointment because I think he's played well and I think he is an everyday NHLer 7 days a week at this point. but it's just he's left me wanting more because that really is something that they still, for whatever reason, can't find, is that offensive facilitator through the middle of the ice.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This week, you got 2 more games here to wrap up this homestand. Colorado tonight. Now, Colorado's lost 2, and they haven't dominated like maybe a lot of people thought they would this year. Coming off the cup, a little bit more of a tired team probably. But they come into this game tonight as the 4th team, as a matter of fact, in their division. Now, they got a couple games in hand on everybody. They've played only 22 games. They're 1 point back of Minnesota with 2 games in hand. They are, 4 points back of Winnipeg with 1 game in hand. And they are 6 points back at the top spot, Dallas, with 3 games in hand. So they're kind of pacing just fine, but they haven't just been dominating. 6-4 in their last 10. Plus 14 in goal differential. But again, another tough spot for the Flyers, who've now lost 12 of 13 at. The play and the structure was good on Saturday, and the play and structure has been better than maybe it was in the beginning of the year when they were stealing some games. But, losing is one of those things that just wears you down. Losing 12 out of 13, the only win coming in that second game against the Islanders, 3-1. I just don't know how much more. You got to be able to get some wins. They got to get guys back in the lineup. Let me ask you this about JVR. Could it be a good thing that he had to miss 7 or 8 weeks? Because if he gets back and can get his game back in order, he's a player that's not going to have as much wear and tear on him from the entire 82 because he missed about 2 months. From a trade standpoint.
Well, yeah, you have to think of it as a trade standpoint. Obviously, JVR doesn't have a future with this team beyond this season, I assume. I guess anything's possible, but I assume he's going to be traded before I think it's March 3rd this year, the trade deadline. But yeah, I think so. JVR is a guy that I don't think that he can consistently be an effective player all the time. He's not a liability by any stretch, but, he's a scoring winger, and scoring wingers go through streaky stretches, and he's on the older side, so obviously there's more wear and tear there. So, yeah, I think that if JVR comes back, he's still probably going to get his 20 goals, which he always gets annually at least. And I think that maybe if you get him going here ahead of the trade deadline, it could be advantageous for the Flyers in terms of flipping him for an asset. And you'll probably have to retain salary, but his contract expires at the end of the season, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's really going to be interesting to see how JVR plays when he comes back because of what you just mentioned. He's been out, 6 weeks now, almost, with the broken finger. And, they've missed him, right? For a team that's so devoid of talent as the Flyers, when anyone is missing, it's going to show. And I think with him being out, you've seen other guys get more opportunity. Hasn't really worked to anyone's advantage. I think Kiefer Bellows got the biggest opportunity with him out of the lineup. He really didn't do anything with that. And I think that when he does come back, that will kind of spell the end for Tanner Laczynski and or Max Willman. Mm-hmm. Laczynski's a guy that I'm semi-disappointed with as well, that he hasn't been able to stick in the lineup. But at this point, you got to worry about getting guys in the lineup that could, help you win and or help you get an asset at the trade deadline, and JVR checks both those boxes.
Yeah. I just wonder, could that help his value in some way, shape, or form? You need to get him back because you do want to move him at the deadline because I think I don't know what he's going to be able to yield you. It depends on what teams need, but teams are always looking for second PP, net front guy, that kind of thing. What he provides, I think teams are always looking for kind of what he brings to the table.
Well, yeah, and
he's a total pro too.
Total pro, wealth of experience. That if you stick him in your middle six, he's going to give you, if you prorated over 82 games, he's probably going to give you 25 goals a season. Good utility guy, could play either wing at this point. I think he's proven that he's a better defensive player than people give him credit for. This is someone that I think, especially if you retain salary on it, a team looking for scoring depth is going to jump on it. They're playing the Colorado Avalanche tonight. I think that this is a team that, obviously they're not healthy right now. They're, Landeskog's out, Nichushkin is out, Lehkonen is out. Obviously they're without Nazem Kadri this year. But even when healthy, I look at their bottom six, and I think this is a team that could use some depth scoring, a shot in the arm before the playoffs. I've often said that they are maybe a fit for Kevin Hayes because I do think they could use a middle six center here. But even if it's not Hayes because of the longer term contract, I think JVR would be a really good fit in Colorado. So I think there's absolutely going to be a market for him.
Yeah, be on the wing, help out the PP2 and all those things. And again, he's a guy that can fit into a lineup pretty seamlessly as a guy that's just a total pro. So we'll see when that happens, if that happens, when that happens, and what the return may be if that happens. How about JVR for McCarr? Yeah,
I think that's fair. That's pretty fair.
Yeah, I do.
I think so.
And great stuff. Appreciate it, brother. Be good this week.
You too, man. Take it easy.
There he is, Anthony DiMarco on BetParks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. And there's so many variables. Well, it's going to be a busy week. Flyers tonight against Colorado, Wednesday against Washington, then Friday in Vegas. 10 o'clock puck drop on Friday, a little Flyers after dark action. Grab the new BetParks app. It's a great time to do it. All the football, college, and pro, all the hoops, college, and pro, all the hockey, World Cup, you name it, you can bet on it. All on the BetParks app. Simple to use. We'll give you the Broad Street bonus coming up, the Broad Street boost, rather, coming up on Wednesday. And it's easy to sign up, fun to use, faster to win than ever before. All new and existing users use the promo code JASON750. That'll get you the risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions do apply. First to score, exact score, same game parlays, live in-game betting, teasers, props, futures, you name it, all there for you to bet on. So download the new BetParks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also swing by and see my friends at Conquerville Subaru. Fantastic time around the holidays here in December to check out the beautiful dealership on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out the Subaru Share the Love event. Began back on November 17th, goes through January 3rd, and then Subaru will donate $250 to one of 5 charities you choose for every new car sold. Either the ASPCA, Make-A-Wish, Meals on Wheels, Nations Parks, or Conquerville's hometown charity. That would be Nemours Children's Hospital of Delaware. December, great time to visit the showroom. Check it out. Check out a list of incoming Subaru vehicles, their certified pre-owned inventory, and it's a beautiful dealership full with great people and a great service department where you get a free car wash with every visit as well. So check it out. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com. All the details there. Visit the showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember that Concordville cares. All right, we're going to Anthony Sanfilippo is going to join us coming up on Wednesday's episode. So we'll talk to ASF from Crossing Broad and Snow the Goalie, the podcast. On Wednesday's episode, that'll be in advance of the Flyers and the Caps on Wednesday night. Flyers in Colorado tonight. But everybody, enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the hockey tonight, and we'll talk to you Wednesday on a brand new BetParks Presents Stick to Hockey Live.